headlines about the skills shortage are nothing new, but in recent years, the problem seems to have amplified as more and more workers retire and fewer workers come up to replace them. A study by the Civil Engineering Contractors Association found that 75% of contractors had issues recruiting skilled workers recently. 75%. Well, today though, we're going to talk about solutions. How do we solve the skills gap crisis by 2030? But I think it's important that we start out with some context. So, why is this so important and why should we be addressing it right now?
It's important to work hard at making the construction industry a preferred route for our young people. They drive innovation and champion change because they don't just accept that's the way we do things. You know, they see things differently. And they bring a inbuilt knowledge and understanding of technology and computer programming that we couldn't learn that in a lifetime, and they bring that with us. So it's really important from that aspect. I also think it's important to break down the stereotypes in the industry. Young people don't live by our restrictions. They don't see ethnicity or disability or neurodiversity or gender in stopping them getting to where they want to be in any industry. And I think the construction industry really needs that.
We really need to replace, I think it's something like 80,000 roles in the construction industry moving forward, just to replace and deal with the growth that we've got. A minimum target of 25,000 apprentices. The Construction Leadership Council said it needs to be nearer 40,000. When you look at the fact that only 2% of people joining the workforce, that construction is their industry of choice, it's very, very low.
I think the key word there is the disconnect. What shocks me is the fact that there's a problem getting young people in, because all I have is young people looking for it, and so that's where the disconnect is.
I think there is an issue around aspiration. I think, for example, you say there that there is nothing different between sort of technical qualifications and more academic qualifications. Well, in the mind of lots of parents, there is a big difference. It is it is a cultural issue in this country that higher level apprenticeships, for example, are just not seen as equivalent to going to do academic studies at university, and that's a big barrier. And I think everybody's point that's been made and going to be made, we should do all of those, but the one that I would say is give us more flexibility, give us more powers at a local level around the skills agenda in terms of regulation, funding, so that we can build the pathways and programmes for our people here that we as partners know that we can deliver.
I think partnerships will be a big part of it. Partnerships between the kind of private sector and local government, chambers, LEPs, those people that have the jobs and those access into the markets that are largely untapped. Developing those partnerships between local enterprise partnerships, private sectors, local government, and really strengthening those, finding the kind of people and making them realise that there are support and there are steps there into the industry. We need certainty.
We need certainty at a national level from government on what we're looking to achieve in the next 7 years, isn't it, to 2030. Set that certainty and put the funding behind it, and the industry will step up.
The collaboration part has got to be a coming together on how best we serve the community collaboratively, so that competitive element and the bids for social value has to start coming together, because you've all talked in silos particularly. And then the elephant in the room is the investment. So you've got social value investments, 2 people in this room delivering this and trying our best to raise this up. So it doesn't need to be any one person valiantly flying the flag. There's third sector corporations companies doing the best to make this better for you. So like invest in us. And that's in terms of, you'll get people round the table talking about homelessness and starting to set something separate up. There's all that infrastructure in place. So connect with people like us and help us to get these young people to your door. Easy.
One thing that we haven't touched on, do it really quickly, is diversity. Females in the industry. I think when I joined the industry there was 2 or 3% females, which is, obviously quite daunting, but now I think we're up to about 14%. So it's like, how can we improve that? Because that's a massive big pool of potentials.
School and college engagement, not only just us going into schools and colleges and doing a talk and telling us this is my role in the industry, this is what I do, but then after that following up on that and bringing students to our businesses, to our construction sites or to our offices, and putting in programs in place so they can actually understand what the role is like and what the day-to-day role is like for someone in the industry.
I think for me is promoting the flexibility of the industry. I think a lot of people think, right, it's going to be 8 till 5, that's it, but I've found Waits to be particularly flexible with me. They've been great. If I've had an issue, no problem.
Got to get to the point that, say we're talking to a room of 16-year-olds are about to make their decision, that they already understand what construction might offer them. If you take a leaf out of the armed forces, for instance, they'll always promote the various facets of what the armed forces can do for them, the various careers. And I think that has to come from central or a collaborative effort to get that message across even before they've made their decision.
We've talked a lot about apprenticeships. I think one of the issues with apprenticeships is the minimum wage, and it's not attractive enough for potentially new entrants into the marketplace. There's a huge issue with recruitment of apprenticeships. I think, to make it more attractive, I think you could raise the national minimum wage for apprenticeships and have guidance and really educate employers to what is a real living wage for people coming into the industry.
A joined up focus on education and those in school, which is cross-sector, so design and construction, and is invested in by all parties rather than education deliverers like myself and Judy having to scrounge around for a few £100 off lots of different people, which makes it not sustainable. So something delivered by education, people, professionals, that is outside the school and is joined up and sustainable.
I think for me, it's a much more joined up approach is needed. There's lots of good initiatives from Construction Leadership Council, for example, with their 4 strands. But actually, when we come down to it, take all the sort of main contractors and consultants, we're all fishing in the same pool. When we talk about recruitment and retention, we're looking at our own bubble, and we're sort of robbing Peter to pay Paul quite often along. It needs a real coordinated, almost toolkit to how do we increase that pool of people wanting to come to the industry and actually focus on that, working in conjunction with education providers.
I don't think we've touched upon more is me reduce the need for the amount of people in the industry by innovating more, taking jobs off-site into MMC, and we haven't kind of gone down that rabbit hole yet, but actually taking away the need for the amount of people, just because the people don't exist across every industry in the UK. So innovate more to kind of allow one person to do what currently 3 people are doing through use of tech.
So my biggest takeaway from today has been, and I didn't realise this before walking into this room, was actually, do we know what the skills gaps are? And if we know what the skills gaps are today, the rate at which the industry is moving, that's not going to be the skills gap that we're going to have in 2, 3, 4 years' time. So for me, I think at a national level, someone needs to be actually thinking about the difference in this. We talk about skills gap in labourers, in joiners, in demolition, but where are the skills gap to deliver the carbon reduction programmes and the sustainability targets that we're being pushed to deliver? So for me, a national approach to skills gap, it needs to be taken.